Okay, thank you, Bu Aryani, for moderating this session. Hello, everyone. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Very good afternoon. Thanks so much for staying around in this session. I know everyone seems to be tired. My name is Sulfikar Amir. I'm Associate Prof in Sociology Department at Nanyang Technological University in Singapore. How many of you have been to Singapore? Anyone? Yeah, of course, yeah. It's only like 90 minutes flying from Jakarta, right? How many of you here are students? I'm just wondering, how many students are here? Okay, very good. How many of you want to kabur aja dulu? All of you, please. Do not go away from this country. It's such a beautiful country. Okay. First of all, I would like to thank Trisakti University for inviting me here to come to this very, very important session, right? And also for Eurasia for facilitating my travel from Singapore to here. And actually, this is my first time coming to University of Trisakti, which is Campus Reformasi, and of course, it's a very historic a place for student movements in Indonesia, and it has high reputation. So, talking about student movement, I would like to start my my talk not from the point of view where we talk about digital business, because basically I'm not going to talk about digital business here. I have to disappoint you, okay? But I want to talk a broader topic about digitalization. And the title of my talk is about digital technology and social transformation. And of course, digital business is part of digital transformation. Okay, of course, everyone knows this word, generasi emas, golden generation, which is always used by government officials, from president, minister, governor, saying that our country, Indonesia, is moving toward generasi emas, golden generation. And golden generation is a generation where Indonesia, reach a point where everyone is happy, where everyone becomes productive, where everyone achieves a high level of income. That Indonesia will be an advanced country, negara maju, right? I'm sure everyone keep listening that word from public officials, from politicians, from anggota DPR and etc., right? But what is the meaning of generasi emas exactly? Now this is an important question for all of you, because you're going to be part of generasi emas, right? Now the thing is, generasi emas is something that we need to question, especially when we look at the experience of other countries. And I would like to show you what happened with the golden generation of a country when they reach 100 years. And that country is United States of America. What happened when America reached almost 100 years? The whole country is divided by the North and the South. And the whole population plunged into a civil war. A civil war that killed 2% of American population. And America is not the only one that suffered from such a tragedy. There are other countries, when they reach 100 years, when they were so hopeful with their golden generation, eventually they plunge into a miserable life. Okay. So I'm not saying that generasi emas is completely, a lie. Of course not. Okay, and I'm not trying to make everyone pessimistic. I just want to be critical of the idea of generasi emas so that you know what you're standing now, today, and what's going to happen in the future. As a sociologist, I'm always interested in debunking, an idea. And golden generation, from a sociological point of view, is a tool that is used to create a myth about the future. And you're going to be part of that future. Okay? Golden generation is a myth. It's a myth in the sense that what we have in mind about what's going to happen with Indonesia in 2045 is something that may not happen. It's something that may be the opposite of the reality. And by looking at how golden generation is a myth, it is basically a political discourse. A political discourse that aims to project a future. But what really happened is that we talk about the future, but we kill the present. We use the future as a tool to oppress the present. And what I mean by that is that the idea of generasi emas is very monolithic, as if there's only one way of going to that direction, as if there's only a couple of people who have the power to say that this is the way for us to reach golden generation. And that is absolutely wrong. Okay? Because a nation like Indonesia, a very complex nation, will grow and develop in multiple ways. Those of you who experience Orde Baru, and of course, this campus has a very, very deep history about the regime of Orde Baru. You will be familiar, I think you are familiar with the word or with the term tinggal landas. Okay? Tinggal landas is a term that is used by Orde Baru to say that this is the path that we're going to develop and every one of you must follow. And that is exactly what's going on with golden generation, generasi emas, as if there's only one way of doing it. And everyone has to follow what we are told. The thing is, if you look at the experience of many nations, you can see that there's a branches of directions that we can go through. And which branch that we are going to depends on 4 aspects. The first one is leadership. The second one is government. The third one is the economy, and the fourth one is society. And every one of you here, as part of golden generation, constitute the whole thing that determine the direction of this country. Okay? So, this may sound very political, but talking about politics is inevitable when it comes to the future. Okay. The future is an imagination. The thing is, everyone has different imaginations, but there's a couple of people whose imaginations are imposed on others. And this imagination, this imposed imagination, are not necessarily the ones that will make everyone happy. Okay? That will create equal society. That will deliver social justice. No. Okay? So we have to be able to question that imagination. And I think this is very, very fundamental, especially for young generations who are now trying to achieve their dream. If you don't have dreams, someone will give you a dream that you have to follow. Now the thing is, their dream are not necessarily the one that makes you happy. And that's how politics works. And talking about politics, of course, we have to be able to question everything that comes from the top, because that's the nature of our society as a democratic country. Now, let's talk about economy now. Okay? Politics and economy are always intertwined. You cannot talk about economy, you cannot talk about business, you cannot talk about prosperity, okay, without talking about politics. Now, I would like to give you some data about several countries so you can see where Indonesia stands among these countries. And there are one variable that we can use here, which is income per capita. Okay? This is income per capita of several countries. On the top is South Korea. Congratulations. South Korea, as of 2023, has about 35,000 US dollars income per capita, with a population of 51 million. Okay? The second one is China. China is a country that used to be poorer than Indonesia back in the 1970s. But now, it has reached 13,000 US dollar with a population of 1.4 billion. Followed by Malaysia, our neighbor. Okay? Malaysia has 11,000 US dollar income per capita with a population of 31 million. And then we got Brazil in South America with 9,280 US dollar with a population of 212 million. So quite similar to Indonesia. And we got Thailand, another neighbor, with 7,200 US dollar with population 71 million. And then Indonesia. What is the income per capita of Indonesia? In 2023, it makes 4,810 US dollar. Okay, with a population of 270 million. Now, India below Indonesia, and of course there are other countries that below Indonesia. Now, let me ask you a question here. What do these countries, all these countries have in common? Anyone? What do they have in common? Maybe a girl can answer me, a female student, or a guy? Mas? Oh yeah, yes please. What do they have in common? What is it? Okay, interesting. So what do they have in common is that the way the government support their own country. Okay, maybe any other answer from this side? Anyone? What do all these countries have in common? Come on, you're all intellectuals. You're supposed to know or be able to see the commonality between these countries? Anyone? Yes. The most populated. Very good. Yeah. Well, that's how you what you should do when you compare countries. You see a population, and of course, if countries like Singapore definitely is not comparable because too small, while the income per capita reach 80,000. So of course, nah. But that's not the answer actually. I'm looking for another answer. Anyone? Someone in the back? Give me a correct answer. What do these countries have in common? What is it? Corrupt. Yeah, well, corruption exists everywhere. Not only in Indonesia, even in the United States or in UK, in Europe. Okay. Anyone? What is it? Okay. Now, the answer lies on here. In the 1960s, all these countries were poor. They're all poor. China, Malaysia, Indonesia, Brazil, Thailand, South Korea, they're all poor. But why, 50 years later, okay, their fates are different. South Korea becomes an industrialized country. Okay, Malaysia were much more prosperous. Okay, much more wealthy than Indonesia. So that's the question. What makes this country different? That eventually by 1970s, the trajectory start to diverse, to separate. What will be the answer? What caused this different fate? Now, of course, in terms of economic theory, there are multiple answers as to why Indonesia and Malaysia have gone through a different direction in terms of their income per capita. Okay? Or why China becomes so advanced. But if you look at one key factor that drives socio-economic transformation of modern society for the past 200 years, the answer lies in industrialization. Okay. Industrialization has been proven to be the fastest track to achieve advanced modernity. What happened with Japan, South Korea, Taiwan, Singapore, Germany, United States, France, you name it. All those countries are now rich because they managed to achieve high-speed industrialization, especially in Asia. It took 100 years for European societies to become industrialized. Okay? Another 100 years for American society to become industrialized. But for Asia, it takes only 50 years. And even countries like Singapore, only 20 years. Taiwan, only 20 years. Okay? So there's this high speed of industrialization that actually caused the different trajectory. Now, Indonesia used to go to that direction during Orde Baru, during New Order. Okay. But what happened now with industrialization? There are four key aspects. that determine whether industrialization will succeed or not. Now, the first one is institutions. You need a strong and competent institution for industrialization to take off. Institution is fundamental for any industrial transformation to take place. Why? Because institutions like bureaucracy, like the government, like the market, are the ones that facilitate production, economic production in the industrial sectors. If you don't have institutions, they are clean, they are transparent, okay? They are competent, then don't expect industrialization will happen in your society. Economic strategy, of course, definitely another aspect. Now, and the thing is, every country has different economic strategies. India, China, Japan, South Korea, they have all different economic strategies. But what is important to highlight is that these economic strategies has to be anchored with the resources that the country has. Okay? Technological capability is another fundamental variable for any industrialization to take place. And of course, this is intertwined with human power. I don't use the term human resources, okay? Because human resources tend to reduce the capacity of human individuals. I use the term human power. Okay? And human power is absolutely necessary in order for industrialization to move forward. Now, as I said before, Indonesia once took a direction for industrialization. It started in 1970s, okay, all the way until 2002. So you can see here, unfortunately, it's a bit unclear, but this is the year of 1985, 1990, 1995, 2000, 2005, 2010, 2015, 2020. Now, what do you see here? It's like a mountain, okay? Indonesia once reached a peak of industrialization, and it started to decline after 2002. And what is the cause of this decline? It is basically a shift of our economy, unfortunately, from the manufacturing sector to extractive economy. And what is extractive economy? Extractive economy is very simple. Okay? You go to a forest and you see a tree, a mango tree, okay? And then you pick some of the fruits and you eat it. Okay? Now, the mango that you eat is basically an extraction of natural resources. There's nothing that you do with the mango fruits. Okay? And that's what happened with mining. Mining, for example, coal mining in Kalimantan, a company just come to a village and they see like an empty land. They say, oh, okay, there's a high amount of a coal deposit underneath, and they just start digging, get the coal and they sell it. That's extractive economy, which makes a lot of money, easy money, okay? Because you don't have to innovate, you don't have to build factory, and etc. And unfortunately, it is this kind of extractive economy that destroy our industrial sector because of the temptation of the extractive economy is just too big, it's just too strong to avoid. Now, What caused the industrialization? I highlight 5 factors. Okay. And I think this is something that we need to discuss even further, because this is going to happen with what you want to achieve as golden generation by 2045. The first one is that our industrialization has a very weak structure. We don't have a very deep industrial structure where the companies, I'm talking about local companies, no, build their company through industrial development. What happened with Indonesian industry is that basically company from South Korea, from Japan, comes here, build factories, and they use local labor. Okay? And once they already extracted this labor, and the labor wage begin to increase, they're going to move to another country looking for another source of cheap labor. So the industrial structure is very, very shallow. There's also lack of innovation capacity, and this has something to do with the role of universities like Trisakti. Right? Poor human power has to do with education. The failure of our educational institutions to produce, great human power, to produce creative and quality human power, eventually contributed to the industrialization. Because with poor human power, you cannot really, build up industrial sectors. We can also blame the government for making inconsistent policies. Policies that at once, support like hilirisasi, but on the other hand, it gives incentive more to the extractive economy. So you cannot really build a very strong industrial structure with such an inconsistent policy. And the last point, and this is something that scholars and researchers, especially economists, rarely talk about, is that deindustrialization or the decline of industrial sectors in Indonesia was due to predatory politics. Predatory politics is always tied with extractive economy. Okay? With the great interest of politicians with extractive economy, they have no incentive. They got no incentive to support industrialization, to support reindustrialization, because why bother doing that if you can just, talk to politicians, talk to anggota DPR, committee, something, right? Talk to the minister, definitely not Minister of Manpower. Talk to the Minister of Energy, blah, blah, blah. You got a piece of paper that approves your project, and that's it. You're going to make billions and billions of, maybe trillions of rupiah. So these are 5 reasons why Indonesia is now plunging into deindustrialization, which unfortunately happening at a premature step. Okay. How much time I have? 20? Okay, 20 minutes. I'm going to finish it in 10 minutes. So, now let's talk about digitalization, because basically this is the reason why everyone joined this session. Now, digitalization, of course, is a process of transformation that is now unfolding everywhere. Not only Indonesia, but the whole world is now going to that direction. Singapore, Japan, Australia, New Zealand, India, China, definitely. Okay, Iceland, even small countries like Gibraltar or I don't know any country that you never heard. Everyone is doing digitalization. Now the thing is, digitalization is a phenomenon that is more complex than what we think, because we always hope that digitalization will fix everything. Okay, and that is exactly how the Indonesian government is thinking about digitalization today. So Indonesian government has so much problems with their bureaucracy, their manpower, their regulations, and they believe that digitalization will fix everything. Okay, and that's exactly the problem, because digitalization is not a panacea, or it is not what is called magic bullet for everything that cause you trouble. Now let me just talk about the positive aspect of digitalization. As I said that every country in the world today is now going through digitalization, and this is a sort of an imperative transformation. And by imperative means that you cannot really avoid it. It is inevitable. Okay? It is inevitable. You cannot hide away from digital technologies, because today, even if you go to, anyone love hiking or trekking, mount trekking, like you mount trekking to Rinjani, you still bring your, digital device, right? So, at least there are 4 positive impact of digitalization that we can talk about. The first one is that it enhances bureaucratic efficiency. And that is exactly what the Indonesian government aim to accomplish. Okay? Intend to accomplish. The second one is that it definitely boosts economic growth. China has shown a proof, has demonstrated how digitalization, boosts the economic growth of the country. Okay. And Vietnam is another country that is now also moving very fast through digitalization. The third reason why digitalization is important for us is that it intensifies our communication. So I can see some people here are still WhatsApping, okay, sending message and etc. Okay, which is another indications, a clear indications that digital devices speed up our, communication relationship. And the last one is that it increases information transparency. Information transparency is definitely crucial for a digital society, because without the spread of transparent information, you cannot really, become part of a productive society. So these are the good things about digitalization. And in 2000, I forgot the year, 2012 maybe. Yeah, 2012. This guy published this book called The Fourth Industrial Revolution. Anybody knows who's this person? Anybody knows? No, Philip Kotler. This like Philip Kotler, like the 1990s era. Anyone knows? What do you see in the back? World Economic Forum. Yeah, he's one of the founders of World Economic Forum. He's a professor of business school, originally from Germany, but then moved to Switzerland. His name is Professor Klaus. Schwab. He's the author of this book, The Fourth Industrial Revolutions, which become the basis for the rise of Industry 4.0. Okay. Industry 4.0 is a framework, okay, that is completely based on digitalization. The use of multiple digital devices in order to speed up industrial productivity. And it is widely recognized and accepted, especially by Asian countries. Industry 4.0 instantly became a slogan, okay, a buzzword. Almost 10 years ago, people keep talking about 4.0 this, 4.0 that, right? And of course, Indonesia doesn't want to lose the hype, okay? So Indonesian government is very FOMO, right? Yeah, Indonesian government is so FOMO that they say, okay, let's make our own Industry 4.0, and this is it. Making Indonesia 4.0. And it consists of basically several agendas in achieving digital transformation for Indonesian economy. And this was launched in 2018. And actually, it was a pretty good agenda, I think. Okay, and of course, this is 2018, a year before everything changed after Pak Jokowi decided, let's go to build a new capital instead of focusing on Industry 4.0. Yeah, unfortunately. But of course, Indonesia, to some extent, began to adopt digitalization. Now, from a sociological point of view, digitalization or digital transformation is not only about technology. You cannot rely solely or only on technology to make things fix, to make things better. Okay? Before technology, you need to have three aspects or three things that will make digital transformation more effective and more productive. And these three things include institution, okay? You need a very good institution in order for digital transformation to take place. If you have a corrupt institution, if you have a very inefficient institution, okay, people who don't really care about their task, people who don't really pay attention in serving the public, even the most advanced technology, the most cutting-edge digital technology that you apply to change this institution is not going to work. So it has to start from the institution. If you want to fix the problem, start from the foundation, and that is institution. And then you add a layer of digital technology that will increase the efficiency and productivity of this institution. And of course, people are the one who make up this institution. So these people have to have knowledge, have to have skills, have to have attitude, have to have adequate training in order for digital transformation to happen. And the last one is culture. Culture is about values. How people, use technology in such a way that make them more productive. One example of value is that when you are attending a meeting like this and someone call you, okay, what you gonna do? Okay, you just answer the phone, hey, apa kabar, blah, 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 and everyone can hear you. Okay, and now, well, of course, I guess We don't do that anymore. But 10 years ago, okay, I think it's quite common. But then you can see that culture changes the attitude following, the value that is embedded in digital transformation. So you need institution, people, and culture, and these are the most important aspect if you want to achieve digital transformation. Now let's talk about Indonesian digital economy. Okay. Digital economy in Indonesia is something that everyone was so hopeful, something that everyone was so optimistic, including the government, especially the government. Especially the government and of course universities, academics, they embrace digital economy as a sort of a path to create more wealth for Indonesian people. Now, of course, if you look at the fact, it is quite promising. Indonesia is the largest digital economy in Southeast Asia. It has 130 billion US dollar worth by 2025. Okay. The internet penetration reached 79.9%. That means about maybe 220 million people in Indonesia use internet through their cell phone. And the majority of this population are young, tech-savvy population, just like everyone here. Right? You wake up in the morning, the first thing you do, grab your cell phone, okay? And you bring your cell phone, blah, 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 everywhere and come back. And then before you go sleep, the last thing you do is checking your cell phones, checking your Twitter, right? Instagram, blah, 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 before you fall asleep. Yeah. So that's basically part of your culture. Now, of course, there's another side of Indonesian digital economy, which is, unfortunately, the fact that our digital economy is so low value. Our digital economy is big, but it is less productive. It is big because of the population. It is big because of the market. But when it comes to the real value that it creates, it's very, very low. Two reasons. The first one is that our digital economy is primarily based on cheap labor. Cheap labor and import consumption. I'm sure everyone already, shop something on Topet, right? Topet, Lazada, or else Shopee. And most of the things that you purchase online are made in China, Vietnam, India. So about 90% of the items that are sold on online marketplace in Indonesia are import. Okay. And that doesn't really contribute significant value to our economy because we just consume those products. We don't create them. Okay. And of course, ordering food using Gojek or Grab is very, very convenient. And that is what's considered to be our Industry 4.0. But the fact is that this digital economy relies so much on the existence of Pak Imran, Pak Ilham, Bu Tuti, dan sebagainya, who are willing to be paid 15,000 rupiah to travel from Grogol all the way to Kemayoran, for example. So it's such a petite economy that basically constitutes our digital economy. And this is the bottom line. The point that I want to highlight here is that digitalization without real industrialization only leads to pseudo growth. We're growing, but it's not sustainable. We're growing, we seem to be growing, but it's not sustainable. Why? Because we actually don't produce real things. We just consume it. Okay? We exploit our fellow countrymen who drive a motorcycle in order for us to avoid doing that. And we pay 10,000 rupiahs. If you're generous enough, you put some tip, maybe 5,000, blah, blah, blah. Right? But that's the thing about digital economy in Indonesia. And of course, we know what happened with these startup companies. Anyone following what happened with Goto? First, when Goto was launched in the stock market, the value was like really high. Now it's only like a fraction of 10% of it. Bukalapak, we know what happened with Bukalapak. Now they sell a quota, right? It used to be a unicorn, but now they sell quota only, okay? Tani Hub, it's gone. Ruang Guru, now they trying to pay their debt. And unfortunately, e-fishery, yes, it's a big shame to this country. And it may have huge implications. Why? Because Indonesia will lose trust from foreign investors in their startup ecosystem in Indonesia. So this is what happens with the end of with our unicorn. And of course, digital platform also produce new social problems. Okay, anyone who are addicted to these online games that you pay money in order to get more money? Anyone? Okay. So digital platform produce a new social problem, including cybercrime, data theft, okay, cyber terrorism, online gambling addiction, online bullying, and etc.
Sorry, 5 minutes, Dr. Sulfikar.
And of course, I have to mention this. The National Data Center was breached a year ago, and it was such an embarrassing case for Indonesian government, right? And the thing is, the case is the end of this is quite anticlimax because we don't really know what really happened. My point here is that if you have a very ambitious program with digitalization, but at the same time you don't have a competent institutions, it's gonna end up producing this problem over and over. Okay. And now let's talk about, of course, the big elephant in the room, AI, the rise of AI. And of course, some of you are working on this field. Now, the AI technology is now widely spread, okay? Especially with generative AI. And we need to realize that the adoption of AI is very much socially conditioned. And by socially conditioned, I said that artificial intelligence is not such an autonomous technology that you can ask anything and it will give you a correct answer. No. It gives you the answer that it gets from us. So basically, we give them an answer, and then the AI machine reformulate this answer, and then we ask question, they give us back our own answer. But then we get this impression that, wow, this machine is so smart. Okay? So the logic of AI is very much imprint of human cognition, and it follows human behavior. Now, one thing that you need to keep in mind is that AI, because it is human invention, always have biases. always have biases. Biases that comes from the designer of this machine, the programmer that is put into algorithm, and it is this algorithm that continue bring these biases when responding to your requests.
Sorry, doctor, the time.
Yeah, 2 more slides.
Okay.
And I think there are a couple of challenges that we need to address in relation to AI in Indonesia. The first one related to employment, the second one with education, and the last one is information. We can discuss this in a question asked. But one thing that I want to emphasize here is that if we want to adopt AI, we need social trust. Social trust not only between the machine and the user, but basically between the user and the institution that regulates this machine. If you don't trust the government, and it is the government that regulates the AI, why would you want to use the AI? So, 30 seconds. This is the conclusion of my talk. The first one is that digital technology is always embedded in social institutions. Okay. So digital technology cannot exist without people. The second one is that the impact of digital technology depends on socioeconomic condition and institutional structure. And the last one is that when you want to achieve productive digital transformation, then it can only be achieved with strong institutional capacity, open mind, culture, and social justice. And that's the end of my talk. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.